know it seems a little bit odd, but this part of the offseason is actually one of my favorite times because there's so much optimism. Pretty much every fan can kind of convince themselves that something good is going to be happening with their team. And so I wanted to talk about one exciting thing, one thing to be excited about for every single NBA team now that the offseason is mostly over and we go into a new season. These are literally completely randomized, by the way. I have no order in which I'm going through these. Let's just start with what happens to be first on my list here, and it's the Milwaukee Bucks. The thing to be excited about there is just that it's a fresh start. You don't have the Giannis thing hovering over you anymore. There's just a lot of new pieces to be interested in and intrigued by. Tyler Hero could genuinely be an all-star caliber player for you this season. Khalil Ware is interesting. Jonas didn't play that much last year, but looks cool. Obviously, Brady Burns looked really good in Summer League. You've got more of a high upside guy in Nate Ahmed. Just like 8 or 9 guys that, at least for the first 20 or 25 games of the season, are going to be interesting to watch. You're going to be intrigued by if you're a Bucks fan. And it sucks that Giannis is gone, but at least you don't have that hovering over you anymore, and all of that pressure is just off your shoulders. Next team I want to talk about is the Indiana Pacers, and I just put contention. That's the thing to be excited about. I mean, the ups and downs of being a Pacers fan the last 2 years, where you have this incredible run to the finals, Game 7, you're 1 win away from an NBA title, and Tyrese Halliburton gets hurt. You know that the entire next season is lost. You're one of the worst teams in the entire league, and then you lose your draft pick because of the Zubats trade. The ups and downs of that is obviously really tough, but now you go into the season, presuming health for Tyrese Halliburton, really, really excited about what is one of the, 7 or 8 best starting fives in the entire league with Halliburton, Nembhard, Nesmith, Siakam, and Zubats. And I think Zu's going to be really, really good for them. I like Kelly Oubre off the bench as well. And you kind of have a very rare situation where this team was very successful, 1 win away from the title a year and a half ago, but they are very, very slept on. They're very underrated going into the season. I think that's going to be exciting, not only to see a contending team, hopefully, for Indiana, but to kind of do it almost out of nowhere again like they did a year and a half ago. Really quickly, though, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile is a premium wireless carrier offering no contract plans on the nation's largest 5G network. And right now, the biggest thing I want to tell you about is their summer promo pricing. You can get a premium wireless plan for 3, 6, or 12 months through Mint Mobile for just $15 a month, and that's any plan they have, including unlimited. Now, the nice thing is you have that flexibility, right? The more months you have, the more that you save, but you also can have a 3-month plan, a 6-month plan, and this is all on a network that provides 5G to 98% of Americans and 4G LTE to 99% of Americans. And the nice thing is you can do all of this from your house. You don't have to go to the store. You don't have to deal with a salesperson. You can sign up for all of this online through Mint Mobile. So you get a premium wireless plan, but at a non-premium price, just $15 a month on the nation's largest 5G network. And again, you have that flexibility of either 3, 6, or 12 months, no contract plan. And every plan with Mint Mobile also includes a free 7-day money-back guarantee, so there is no risk to trying it out. So stop overpaying for wireless because that's just how it's always been. Try Mint Mobile out right now for 3, 6, or 12-month plans, any plan they have, including unlimited, for just $15 a month. Go ahead and check them out, and thank you again to Mint Mobile for sponsoring this video. Let's talk about the LA Lakers. I've made it pretty clear I'm not that excited about the direction of this team, but if you're going to be excited about something, it's This is now 100%, no question about it, the Luka team. Like, they have built, for really the first time since they've traded for him, because LeBron's now gone, they've built the entire roster with Luka in mind. Walker Kessler at the 5, you retain Austin Reeves to be that Kyrie Irving, that Jalen Brunson guy alongside of Luka. You add some spacing, you add some defense on the wings, you add someone in Quentin Grimes that can help you score off the bench, and the entire team is just made with Luka in mind. You get to see Luka just be Luka, and that's going to be really, really exciting. And as much as I'm not optimistic about what they're going to do this season, there's always a lot of upside when you have Luka on your team, and there's certainly a lot of excitement there, even though I don't love the offseason. Let's talk about Portland now. The return of Damian Lillard, to me, is very interesting and very exciting when you pair that with like the mystery box that is Ja Morant now on this team. From a talent perspective, Portland's way up there. Obviously, there's some weird ownership stuff happening. The coach is on a one-year deal, which is very strange. I hope this isn't the case, but there's a distinct possibility that the Portland Trailblazers don't exist within the next couple of seasons and they move the team. I hope none of that happens, but if you're just looking at going into the season, Damian Lillard's back. Like, that is a super, super cool outcome. A guy that eventually just got sick of things and requested a trade, and now that he's back and is going to be healthy, playing alongside Ja, that's a cool team. I don't know how it's going to work. Talent-wise, everything looks cool. Fit-wise, might be questionable, but a lot of interesting stuff happening there with Portland, and I think a lot of it revolves around Damian Lillard. I mean, what if Dame is just like an all-star caliber player for them coming off this Achilles injury. That's distinctly possible for Portland. Miami, I think it's pretty obvious, right? You have an actual genuine superstar at the center of the team. No disrespect to Jimmy Butler. Bam's obviously a very good player, but Giannis is just on a different level. I mean, if he's healthy, he's going to contend for the MVP. He is an MVP caliber player, and obviously it might not be super aesthetically pleasing all of the time on offense, and it's going to be a little bit more of like a grindy, rebounding, defense-heavy team, but you can't not be excited about Giannis at the center of your team going into next year for Miami, so that's definitely exciting. One team that I had a very difficult time coming up with something exciting and optimistic to say is the Golden State Warriors. They're not really doing a whole lot different. They brought back Draymond. They flirted with the LeBron thing. They flirted with like the Anthony Davis, Giannis thing. None of that stuff's happening. I put down Kristaps Porzingis as the exciting thing because he was pretty good for them at the end of the year last year when he was healthy. And if you're looking for an X-factor kind of player to really elevate your team, a big like Porzingis that can protect the rim and shoot threes can really, really elevate your team in a hurry. And for a team in Golden State that doesn't appear to have championship upside, that can obviously put you in a pretty good position. And obviously Yaxel looks really good as well. And that top 6 guys, right? Steph, Jimmy when he comes back and is healthy, Yaxel, Draymond, Porzingis, and then Pods is not terrible. Like, it's passable, and it's something where maybe you can squint and say, hey, we're going to have this great chemistry season. Yaxel's going to be great. We're going to win 50 games. Maybe do something around Steph. I'm not that optimistic on them personally, but if you're looking for something exciting, it's Yaxel and then the Porzingis effect. The Washington Wizards, this is, by the way, a theme as I was going through this. A lot of teams do genuinely have stuff to be excited about, and I think a lot of it is because we don't have a lot of genuinely bad teams going into the year, like Washington last year, the year before, where they've got like 6 actual NBA players on the roster, and half those guys aren't going to be playing 30 games into the year. So right now for Washington, the exciting thing is you have real playoff hopes. Like, I think they want to be a top 6 seed in the conference. I don't have them ranked there currently, but I do think that that's their goal, and presuming health, they have an absolute chance of doing that. Once you get to that point, we've seen it with Indiana. Maybe the Knicks aren't a great comparison because we knew that the talent was there, but it's not like they were clicking on all cylinders in like April, right before they made their playoff run. So if you can just get in the playoffs, have some things exciting happening in DC, kind of revitalize that fan base, which I think is the very intentional point of the Trae Young and the Anthony Davis stuff. In addition to obviously the number 1 pick in the draft being on the team as well, a lot of exciting things happening for Washington. And I mean, I'd have to think about it, but the most highly anticipated Wizards season since, maybe the Westbrook year, people were really excited. Westbrook kind of carried that team to semi-relevance. Prior to that, it's one of the John Wall teams, but I always reference this stat. I don't think the Wizards have ever had a 50-win season in the modern history of the league, like the post-merger history of the league. I think it was the 70s, the last time the Wizards had a 50-win season. They won 49 one year with the John Wall and Bradley Beal team. So I'm not saying they're going to get to 50 games, but the fact that that's like a decent possibility is obviously very exciting for Washington. It could go the other way. They're relying a ton on youth, but still a lot of really fun and exciting things happening for Washington. The Clippers, I did have difficulty figuring out something exciting for them because presuming Kawhi gets traded, there's just a lot of uncertainty, a lot of new faces. Garland only played a handful of games for them. Obviously, Wagler's the guy that just drafted. Brandon Ingram would be in place of Kawhi, but that's kind of where I went with this, is just like youth and exciting up-and-coming guys rather than being beholden to mid-30s overpaid often injured stars. You're just like, hey, Brandon Ingram's had his injury issues, as has Darius Garland, but if those guys are healthy, that's an interesting trio of players to kind of build around. They got Niederhauser as well. Still kind of a weird draft pick situation for them moving forward as a result of some of the trades that they made, like James Harden initially, but youth and excitement certainly is still there for the Clippers. My very own Brooklyn Nets. I have Michael Brown here listed, Yegor Jemin as well. There is, I don't know if I want to say excitement because those guys are, not top 3 picks. That's what you wanted to get out of tanking the last couple of years, but there's clear continuity, there's clear chemistry between those two guys. Both look pretty good in summer league, and at this point, I'll take that. I'll take that around a more veteran nucleus of guys like Julius Randle, Michael Porter Jr. Maybe a Michael Porter Jr. trade in the middle of the year would potentially help things, but given they don't have their pick, not a whole lot to be excited about, so I'm just going to talk myself into the backcourt of the future already being there and existing and looking really good of Michael Brown and Yegor Jemin. Phoenix is a little bit of a weird one to figure out, but ultimately, I think we sometimes forget that they have a top 10 pick on their roster from last year in Malawach, and he looked good in Summer League, and I think that is the piece to be excited about. If you're going to see a big year 2 leap from a player from that kind of archetype, from a archetype, it's probably going to be a project big guy that didn't play that much as a rookie, all of a sudden steps up and gives you really good minutes. They've got some interesting depth as well. Like, I don't like the Miles Bridges trade, but I'm sure he'll be fine for them. Mark Williams is good, Con Gillespie, and obviously Devin Booker at the center of it. There's no championship upside here, but if Jalen Green is healthy, he had a very, very odd season injury-wise last year, and Malawach improves. Some things to be excited on. Again, I think the central piece to that is Malawach kind of delivering on some of the promise that he brought. It doesn't have to, he doesn't need to look like an all-star or anything, but like, think about, man, this sounds kind of depressing, but I think he's one of the more underrated players in the league. Think about the leap that Donovan Clingan had this past year and what that kind of meant to Portland's defensive identity and their future. If Malawach can do something similar to that, or at least be on that trajectory, that would be really exciting for a Phoenix team that's looking for that kind of upside leap from someone like Malawach. Sacramento, I literally wrote down, I said, Acuff could be Kyrie Irving, ? That's where the excitement is. If you guys watched my video the other day ranking all the teams, I have them as the worst team in the league going into the season, so it's definitely difficult to find excitement, especially given that team is anchored by Zach LaVine and Domantas Sabonis. Keegan Murray kind of is what he is at this point, but Acuff is obviously the exciting piece. I wouldn't be surprised if he averages like 20 a game, pushes for the Rookie of the Year award. I don't expect him to be terribly efficient in those minutes, and maybe they're able to kind of boost the value of guys like LaVine and Sabonis and move them at the deadline, but it's all about Darius Acuff if you're looking for excitement and upside in Sacramento. Oklahoma City, obviously, like, they're going to be a contender. That's cool. That's awesome. But also just healthy Jalen Williams. I think people, I don't know if forget is the right word, but I think it's been understated how little Jalen Williams played and was fully healthy for them last year, and then obviously in the playoffs got hurt as well. He's an all-NBA caliber player. He is, when healthy, one of the 15 to 20 best players in the league, and he just wasn't available the entire season, and they were still really good and still had a very feasible chance of winning the NBA title. I also think it'll be fun to kind of move some of the depth out, like no Aaron Wiggins, no Isaiah Joe, and no Lou Dort, and that means more Cason Wallace minutes, more Jared McCain minutes, some of the young guys stepping up behind those guys as well, obviously the young bigs like a Dave Mara and Thomas Sorber. I think it's going to be cool to see them kind of continue to develop those guys in the background, and then obviously healthy Jalen Williams as well. Dallas, Cooper Flag year 2. I mean, I think we continually understate how young he truly is, like 19 years old or something, 20 years old going into year 2, and was incredible as a rookie. We've talked about this. I would have voted for Conker Nipple as Rookie of the Year, but Cooper Flag was right there, and even though the team around him is definitely more veteran and a little bit strange, you don't know what the fit looks like, he's just such a good all-around player that you're expecting to see continued growth in all these different ways, and I mean, I can't imagine there's any team that's more excited for a year 2 player right now than Dallas is with Cooper Flag. The Atlanta Hawks are in a really, I would say enviable position, because they are in between in a positive way. Sometimes we say that as like, oh, you don't want to be a 42-win team. You want to be really bad and get a good pick, or you want to be really good and trying to contend. But the Hawks are, man, I shudder to even say this out loud. They're on like the 2 timelines thing a little bit. The Golden State was on when they had Steph, and then they had Wiseman and Kuminga. But like 2 timelines complimentary, not 2 timelines derogatory, because I genuinely could see them being like a real, maybe a contender is the wrong term, but an issue, a problem for teams in the playoffs as currently constructed. And they get to do that with some of these veterans like CJ McCollum, but also with upside. They just drafted Flemings. Jalen Johnson's still really good and up and coming. Dyson Daniels can continue to improve. There's a lot of pieces here to still be excited about with Atlanta, so it's cool that you have, wow, we took 2 games off the New York Knicks in the playoffs last year, and also, by the way, we could be a conference finals team. I think that's a realistic ceiling for this Hawks team. I really, really like them, and they've done an outstanding job of kind of positioning themselves in a better spot in the post-Trae Young, and you go back even to the DeJounte Murray trade as well. So a lot of exciting things happening in Atlanta. Denver was an interesting one to figure out because things feel pretty stale roster-wise. There's not really there's no Yaxel Lindeborg on this team that you're really excited about them adding as a rookie. The ownership situation is strange because they appear to be more concerned about the bottom line and pinching pennies than they are about actually building a contender. As of this recording, we do not have a resolution to the Peyton Watson situation. So it's a little bit of an odd thing to kind of be excited about, right? But I just wrote down that they are a sleeper contender because it's not really the sky is falling doom and gloom, but it can feel that way a little bit, especially when it's ownership based, the issues that the team is having at least. You still have Nikola Jokic, and a year ago, going into this previous season, A lot of people had Denver as maybe not the favorite in the West, but right up there, and certainly a team that was capable of winning the title. And their roster looks different now, but you got that Peyton Watson leap, presuming you can bring him back a healthier and better Christian Brown season. You still have Jokic at the center of this. They could very easily be like, 38-20 or something, whatever that is, 60-something games into the year, 50-something games into the year, and all of a sudden we're like, oh yeah, Denver's really good, Jokic is great, and they're going to be an issue in the playoffs. It's maybe a little hard to see that after how they looked in the postseason, but still a lot of excitement and certainly contending expectations this season for Denver, so that's exciting. Boston, I put down, it's Tatum's team now. Like, we've done, I don't know, a decade basically, 8 years, 9 years of the Tatum and Brown thing together. Whose team is it? Can they win together? And it's so funny because they literally won a title, and I feel like that's still a little bit of a conversation. It's not a conversation anymore. Jason Tatum's at the center of the team. Paul George is going to be over there shooting threes, and you get to see what that looks like, and maybe the Kenny Atkinson meme, right? Like, maybe analytically they'll be really, really good, and there'll be a significant upgrade going from Jaylen Brown to Paul George, and I think there'll just be a little bit of a newness, a little bit of a new feeling to this Celtics team that, although it's sad that they broke up kind of the franchise cornerstones of their team with splitting up Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, there's also things have gotten maybe a little bit stale at that point. These guys have been together for so long, regardless of the different versions of the team, with Kyrie, without Kyrie, with Gordon Hayward, without Gordon Hayward. Those two guys have been at the center of it, so splitting that up and saying, hey, this is now you were always the alpha guy once you became an All-NBA player, Jason Tatum, but now it's like 100% your team. Some interesting, increased usage for guys like Peyton Pritchard as well, and still, real championship upside, I think, for that team, even though I don't love the Jaylen Brown return. Utah I continue to group them together in my head with Washington because they made these middle of the season moves to continue to get better, and then they got lucky in the draft lottery as well. So there's excitement in terms of Darren Peterson, but there's also excitement in terms of actual real playoff hopes. It's a little bit of a clunky roster in terms of who's going to get the ball and create all the time, who's going to be playing the 5 spot. It's going to be Nurkic, but like beyond that, and what's the real upside with the team overall. But even though the West is tough, I fully expect Utah with a really, really good coach in Will Hardy. I fully expect them to be right in the play-in race, which, if you're a Jazz fan, probably sounds pretty exciting, given that they've been one of the more egregious tanking teams over the last handful of seasons. San Antonio, I don't think I really need to come up with anything to be excited about. You've got freaking Victor Wembanyama on your team, but I put down year 2 Dylan Harper because it's weird because if Dylan Harper's awesome, which I expect him to be in year 2, that creates a weird situation with De'Aaron Fox and everything, but that is just one of the most exciting things to see, is a guy in a smaller role kind of break out and everybody realize, wow, he is really ready for this bigger role. Maybe it creates a weird situation. De'Aaron Fox is on a different team in the middle of the year, but I put down year 2 Dylan Harper as the excitement point for them. Toronto, I put down the return of Kawhi, ? Hopefully, I think so. I think that trade is going to go through kind of as currently constructed, and if that happens, I can't remember where I think I put Toronto like top 5 or top 6 in my rankings video for these teams going into the season. Him alongside Scotty Barnes. I don't even love like the bookends of the starting lineup. Like the Jakob Poeltl thing is weird. His contract's gigantic and he gets hurt all the time. Emilio quickly has injury issues. I don't even love that part. But the middle of the roster, RJ Barrett, who I think is underrated, Kawhi, Scotty Barnes. The way this team plays with their defense ferocity, I'm going to be really excited to watch Toronto games, and it's just, there's obviously a lot of really great, synergy with the last time we saw Toronto be really, really impactful in the postseason prior to last year was with Kawhi leading them to an NBA title. That guy being back on their team again, we presume, is going to be really, really interesting, and just from a viewing perspective, an exciting thing to watch and see how it unfolds, and ideally, knock on wood, that also means a healthy Kawhi season. Detroit, I just put that they have real expectations, because if you go back to this time last year, Detroit was coming off of like a 40-something win season. People liked them, but I think there was a thought process, a consensus that they were going to take a little bit of a step back, that one of the reasons they were such a good regular season team was defense and rebounding and things like that, and they were going to take a little bit of a step back. Well, now this year, you're coming off a season in which you were a 60-win team and the 1 seed, some playoff struggles certainly, but real expectations now. Like, there's no doubt about it, if you're a Detroit fan, you're going into the year that this is a team that's capable of doing a lot of really good things, especially in the regular season, and that's exciting and interesting in addition to, potential growth from guys like Asar Thompson. We need something out of Ron Holland, or we're going to start having Ron Holland trade conversations, so excitement there in Detroit, certainly. The Knicks, you won the title, so you probably feel like you're just floating right now if you're a Knicks fan, but I think, like I wrote down, I said the championship weight is gone, as in like the weight on their shoulders, and just having that not be there anymore, like they obviously still want to win the title, but that expectation just being lifted off their shoulders, I think is going to result in them playing a lot more freely, being a lot more just happy in general as a team. And they brought back most of the team. Obviously, no more Mitchell Robinson, and there's some questions about Deuce McBride long term, but I think just having that off their back is going to be really important and really fun. Houston, I wrote down, and I think this is a common phrase that people like to use, I wrote down nobody believes in us. The expectation going into last year was, wow, they added Kevin Durant, they're going to take a leap. I feel like nobody cares about Houston now because the Kevin Durant thing got weird. Ben Thompson didn't take as much of a leap as you wanted him to last year. Şengün's good, but it's just a little bit of a mismatched kind of team. But now that they're getting healthier, Van Vliet coming back, I think they're a little bit underrated right now, even though I don't love their overall potential in the postseason, but there's no real difference between them now and what they were going into the year last year, but there's a real difference in terms of expectations, and that could be fun and that could be interesting, and maybe that'll be galvanizing for this team, especially once Van Vliet comes back, which is obviously a huge part of their team. Philadelphia 76ers, do I need to put anything here? You've got LeBron on your team. You traded for Jaylen Brown in the middle of the year. You have one of the 2 or 3 probably best starting fives in the entire league, Maxey, Embiid, obviously Embiid if healthy. I really am just going to start saying Joel Embiid if healthy. Like, that's just his full name at this point. LeBron, Jaylen Brown, and then VJ Edgecombe. I don't really think I need to say a lot about why you would be excited going into the year if you were a Sixers fan. Orlando, I wrote down, maybe this is the year. That's just always the hope, right? The Magic are kind of my secondary team because I live in the area, and I made a video about it. I went to, was it Game 6? The Game 6 where it looked like they'd won the series against Detroit, and then they scored like 25 points in the second half or something. I don't even know why I started talking about that, but they're my secondary team, and I want them to be good so badly, and I just kind of decided, I said this in my rankings video going into the year, I'll just be happy to be wrong. I'm just going to be out on the Magic, and then if they're really good, I'll be absolutely delighted to be wrong, and I think that's the excitement point is, maybe this is the year that everybody's healthy, guys take a step forward, new coach makes a real difference, spacing is better, and we go from there. I don't really know how you can say anything else excitement-wise about them. Memphis, it's Cam Boozer, and it's just the weight off your shoulders of the John Morant thing is gone. You've got so many picks, and the way the new lottery rules are working, that could be incredibly valuable for you. And obviously already having Cam Boozer as that kind of like franchise cornerstone, they are one of the smarter front offices, one of the more progressive front offices and analytically based teams in the league. Having that many picks and Cam Boozer is an unbelievable place to be in, and I think he's going to be fun to watch, and I think this team, generally speaking, is going to be more fun to watch than people realize with Zach Edey, Cedric Howard, and Cam Boozer at the center of it. So I'm excited about Memphis. Minnesota, I just put down LaMelo. It's just going to be a different version of the team. It's going to be a wildly different version of Memphis than we've become accustomed to with, all the big guys playing together and all about being about defense. They're going to play faster. They're going to be more guard-centric. I think that's interesting and that's exciting. New Orleans, Zion and Derek Queen just kind of figuring out as the franchise cornerstones. I don't know. That's kind of what I wrote down. Chicago, pretty self-explanatory. It's Caleb Wilson. You get to see that guy play. That seems really cool and exciting. As a Nets fan, that's what I was watching. That sounds awesome. And I think, again, just even if they're one of the worst teams in the league, you feel like you got a little bit more of a direction and a cornerstone now. Caleb Wilson. Charlotte, healthy Brandon Miller. I know that I've said multiple times I'm not huge on the whole LaMelo situation, them trading away. I don't get it. I don't like it. But Brandon Miller could be an All-NBA caliber player this season, and his health kind of directly aligns with when Charlotte makes these really good runs and their net rating's really good. A lot of it centered around Brandon Miller being healthy. So if he can be, that's exciting and real momentum there in Charlotte. And we end with Cleveland because I really could not come up with anything. Like that is the only team that I just couldn't come up with something. I put a full season of James Harden with this core. You can make the argument that they finally had a deep playoff run. Maybe that kind of takes the weight off for them a little bit. They're a little bit more confident. But I'm certainly not going to say like Mario Hezonja, let's go. You know what I mean? I really had a hard time with Cleveland. But that